Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing? It's been a minute. It has been a minute. I have to get back in the groove of things. I have to get ready. So let me say this. I apologize for being away for so long. I am so sorry. Um, I've been out of the loop. Y'all been out of the loop. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm here. I'm back. Welcome to Talking with Blair with Takesha. Today we are going to talk about travel today. Tomorrow isn't promised. And I have a question for you. Okay, so for those of you who have been watching this channel, you know I love to travel. Travel is my zhuzh. So the question I have is, how many trips have you said you'll take one day? How many trips have you said you'll take one day? And we always say, one day I'm gonna do this, one day I'm gonna do that. This is on my bucket list. We talk about how we're gonna go to all these different places, whether it's domestic or it's international. But we put it off because we're always talking about money. We're talking about our kids. If we had more time, and so a lot of us say, "I'm going to do this when I retire. I'm going to do this when I retire," and then we even blame it on the season. We blame it the season on whether or not we're going to go somewhere. Oh, it's not the right time of year. Like we do all these excuses. We have all these reasons for not, why we're waiting tomorrow to honestly do what we can do today. So I'm choosing this episode because even I, at one point, was guilty of saying what I plan on doing once I retire, once my child got older, and things like that. Years ago, that was my excuse. And so the first thing we're gonna talk about is like the myth of later. Like, what's the myth of later? Well, like I said, the myth is I'm gonna wait till my kids get older. Why? I'm gonna travel when I retire. Why? Or I'm gonna travel when I lose weight. Why? Them people don't know you. They don't know what you look like. And then, side note, when you go travel and you see people, you be like, oh shoot, if he or she can go out and look like that, why can't I? Like, you're on vacation. You're spending your money, you're spending your time. And maybe traveling will be your motivation to lose that weight. And maybe traveling with your kids will motivate you to enjoy and be excited about the time, when you won't have your kids to travel with you like that. And then we always say our travel when work slows down. Y'all, when we get hurt, when we, uh, God forbid, we get laid off, uh, and definitely, God forbid, if we pass away, the job is still going to be there. And they'll be advertising the next day for somebody to assume your position, at least within the next week or a month. They will be advertised. Your job not waiting on you, so why are you waiting on your job? Why are you waiting for things and people that are not waiting on you, that are not making you a priority? Like, why? I try to think about like what trips or a specific trip that I had ever postponed because the time wasn't right and I had excuses for uh, why I wouldn't go. And y'all, honestly, I can't think of any. I honestly cannot think of any. And I think for me, that's a blessing. But I know for some of you, you probably have those moments where it's like, okay, now, uh, I have had those moments where I was like, okay, I do have a trip I want to go on, but I'm waiting to go on. Why? And when I say tomorrow isn't promised, y'all, my mom passed. Two of my stepdads passed. One of them was one that raised me since I was 5. And if you've seen my previous podcast, you know that he helped give me the passion for travel. We traveled every year to Philadelphia, and we drove because there was too many of us to be buying plane tickets. So we drove straight from Arkansas to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania every year. And for years, he literally would drive straight through. The only stops we had was for the bathroom and gas. And he created me a passion and understanding the importance of traveling with family and creating memories. Life changes fast. Things happen where the things we wanted to do we can't do anymore because life changes so fast. And guess what? One thing I think about, I can retire in less than 2.5 years. And my prayer is that God blesses me to be in good health, be of sound mind, to where when I do retire, I can really enjoy travel. But y'all, we know that's not always the case. It's not always the situation where we can sit up there and when we retire, we'll be in good health, sound mind, or, finances won't be, horrible. Because some people retire and have to get another job. So why put off for tomorrow what you literally can do today? Uh, and then the relationships. Let's talk about relationship changes. Some people feel like they can't travel unless they travel with somebody. Can you not really travel by yourself? And then why are you allowing fear to stop you? Research where you're going, get to know the destinations, the popular spots, the safe spots. Look up statistics for crimes and stuff like that because I love traveling by myself. Not just because, I'm the popo, but I love traveling by myself, but I also make sure when I travel, I use common sense. But we all know common ain't common. And the other thing, too, is people we don't want to go on trips with, they want to go later. Okay, be bold enough and brave enough to be like, you know what? Later is not right for me. Now is. So I'm going to go now. And then if y'all want to go later, I might go with you later. But don't put off your plans and the things you want to do based off of other people's availability. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, you'll never go waiting around for other people. Uh, I think too, for me, is creating the experiences over things. I talk to kids all the time, because I want to instill in the kids that I mentor that traveling is possible. It's not as expensive as we try to make it. It can cost money depending on where you go and if you're trying to stay in a Ritz Carlton or, one of these luxury hotels. But if you put aside some things you normally like to spend your money on, stop. Stop. Save that money and put it on the trip that you've been saying you want to go to. Like, I feel like to me, that's more important. I get to create experiences. I get to have experiences that are once in a lifetime. That bag, them shoes, that outfit, they'll be here when I get back. Those meals that I like to go out to eat and have, that food will be here. But the opportunity to go somewhere, some of this stuff is truly once in a lifetime. And it's achievable. And then for me, the memories are an emotional wealth. Like it's experiences that affect me emotionally and then broaden my perspective and my horizon and keep us from being so narrow minded and understanding that we have so much in common with other people, but also appreciate the differences that we have with others. That's something that you're not going to get by staying at home. That's also something you're not going to get as deeply if you travel abroad and if all you do is travel domestically. Because even though we different regions provide different things, it's not as big of a culture shock, if you will. It's not immersing yourself completely in an alien environment, an unfamiliar environment. When I say alien, don't be trying to knock me for it. I'm using that in the sense of it's out of our world because our world is in this small box of where we live, where we work, people we know. But when you go to another country, it's completely foreign to you. Like everything is fresh, everything is new. And it also keeps you from being so picky. You know what I'm saying? You become more open to just newness. And for me too, traveling is healing. It gives me clarity. It builds my confidence. When I went to Dubai by myself, y'all, I was a nervous wreck. Y'all saw in the other clips, if you watch the videos, I created excuses for why I didn't go. But it made me bolder and more confident to go to other places. Like my bucket list is to go to uh, Asia. Now, last year, well, the year before last, I went to Bali, which is in Indonesia, which is in Asia. But I want to go to like Bangkok, Phuket. I want to go to Tokyo. I want to go to Korea, was South Korea. I went through the airport in South Korea, which was beautiful, by the way. But I want to expand and explore those regions that are completely new to me. And then the price they pay on their food, y'all, you also see how, I hate to say overpriced the US is with everything compared to when you go somewhere else, and how your few dollars make you feel like you bought. OMG, like you literally feel like you are balling and like you have a ton of money. When reality is their economy is so affordable, you can do so much and you can have so much. And then think of travel as a self investment. It's truly not a luxury, it's a lifestyle. To be able to go different places, and for some people, yes, it's a luxury, but how come it can't be yours? How come you can't turn it into your lifestyle? And it's not irresponsible to go traveling. It's living intentionally. It's enjoying all the things that God created for us to enjoy, the people He created. And some of y'all be like, she going spiritual. And He is. However, if that's not your judge, why don't you live intentionally? Your life is here for a purpose. You never know who you're going to meet. And with that being said, not only what you can impart on them, but opportunities and blessings that can come to you just by you doing something outside of the norm that you normally just wouldn't do. Uh, so some of y'all be like, "But dang, if I go over here, I don't want to go for a week. Okay, go for a weekend. Branch out and go to Cabo in Mexico or Cancun, Tulum or Brazil or Colombia. That's close. That's not too far, and it's affordable. Go to Canada. Go to Niagara Falls. Go to Vancouver. It's so many different places in Canada you can go. Shoot, go to Alaska because I plan on going there. I said I plan on flying, and then I want to take a cruise, an Alaskan cruise. But start small. Start with a weekend, and then build up your courage, your confidence. Learn how to budget for your trips because you need to budget before you go. And one thing I say, don't go on the trip broke because you're not going to be enjoying yourself because you're going to be so worried about making your money stretch. And then if you run out of money before the end of the trip, and God forbid an emergency, you still need to have money or on a credit card, but preferably cash as well. Be careful with your money. Don't be flashing it. Uh, for emergencies, because let's be realistic, emergencies do happen. And y'all, paper plans exist. Even as a travel agent, if my clients book far enough out, they can make payments. It's like having putting your plans on layaway, your travel on layaway, and knowing that you secured that travel and making payments as as needed until your deadline. You you don't have to worry about paying a lump sum up front. For me, that's the biggest thing because as we know, life be life and life happens. So if emergency pops up, you haven't spent all your money on the trip that you planned. You can still address your emergency, but you still know you got your trip that you have in the future. And depending on what the emergency is, you'll really be looking forward to getting away and going on that trip. And then if you're not into, solo travel, go with a group where if you're staying in a room or, a resort or whatever, you can split the cost and that won't cost you as much. That makes it more affordable. But also be mindful, everybody is not a good travel buddy. But some people, you get along with them here, but let's be honest, folks change and be different when they get out of the state or out of the country. And if they're a person that complains all the time, always has something to say, if they like to brag or flash their money and try to belittle you on the trip, then that's not somebody you want to travel with. So get to know people's personalities. Also, make sure it's understood we are not traveling broke. We are traveling to help each other with the budget and to be able to afford it. But at the same time, when you travel with a group, don't travel with broke people in a group. They will bring down the energy, they will bring down the spirit. And not just broke people, like I said, people that just have nasty attitudes that complain about everything. Y'all, if I ever go on a trip like that, which I have in the past, even the people I get along with will tell you I would disappear because I get to a point where I get tired of people. I just want to be by myself. Keisha want to be by herself. Don't come looking for me. If you see me out by myself, make sure I want to be around anybody. And so don't be afraid to protect your peace. You spent your money just like everybody else. I know y'all like, why she keep giving her the side eye? Cause I mean, I'm just saying. So your first step is pick a destination, a realistic destination that you would like to go on. Okay. Figure out the pros and cons of if you have several, you just can't pick, then create your pros and cons of if I go here, what's the pros and cons? If I go here, what's the pros and cons? That way it kind of helps you narrow down like where you're gonna go and what you're gonna do. And then this is what I want you to do today, okay? I want you to do this today. And then the next thing is you're gonna look at flights because you need to figure out about how much it will cost you to fly there. Because a lot of places when you go, especially when you go over the pond, I'm not talking about going to Jamaica or the Caribbean. I'm not talking about going to Mexico. If you're looking at going to Asia or England or Africa or Australia, when you're literally going over the ocean, that costs a good amount of money. That sometimes, well, a lot of times, be your highest expense is the actual flight. So figure out roughly around how much that will cost you, and then set a monthly travel budget, even if it's $50. Because if you pick the domestic location, something within the U.S., set aside at least $50 and give yourself a target date of how much you want to or when you would like to travel. But make sure your budget or your money that you set aside is realistic. Don't be sitting up here putting down $50 because that's $600 for a year. And at the end of the year, with $600, you think you're going to go to California, unless you find some good flights in a cheap hotel. But let's be honest, cheap ain't always quality a lot of the times. You get what you pay for. Okay? You get what you pay for. And then once again, stop waiting for people who aren't ready. Stop waiting for people that are never ready and have a history of always backing out and never going anywhere and always having an excuse and never ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody has time for that. Do not allow people that make you an option, they be your priority. Don't do it. And now I said a year, but y'all know y'all stretch the year out. Y'all will stretch it out. So make it 6 months. Find you a destination. Okay? Look at flights. Set aside a budget. If you don't want to go by yourself and you're about going by yourself, pick a group of people that you know have the same goals and the same mindset as you. They have travel groups, but make sure they're reputable ones. Start setting aside your money and then go within 6 months. And then commit to something. When I did my first international trip in 2017, I went to the Dominican Republic, to Punta Cana. And when I got my passport, I had promised myself that every year I was going to get my passport stamped. Although every country does not stamp your passport, which is jacked up. Not every country does it. And I was able to keep that promise. The only time I broke it, and it wasn't because of me, was because of COVID. Other than that, I've been able to keep that promise to myself. And I'm like, I didn't get the passport for just sit pretty on the shelf and never be used and have that excuse. Um, be urgent about this trip, but don't be reckless. Make sure you make decisions on sound mind and not desperation and emotions, because when you are desperate or you make emotional decisions, you're not thinking logically. It doesn't make sense. You make a lot of mistakes. And what we're not going to do is make mistakes with your investment. We're not going to do that. Like, the devil is a lie. You're not going to do that. So remember, y'all, you don't need permission to see the world. You need encouragement to stop postponing your joy. Stop postponing what it is you want to do. Stop creating excuses. Faith over fear. We say that all the time. Why not use the same concept for travel? Y'all are worth it. So that is my words of wisdom on that. I didn't want to take too long, but y'all, why put off today? Which will put off to today. Don't do it tomorrow. Do it today. I'm trying because ain't it? Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, girl, I'm getting tongue tied, but y'all knew what I meant. You knew what I meant. Do it today. Like don't shortchange yourself. You are worth it. Know your worth. And don't feel like you have to be, even if it's a spouse or a boyfriend. I'm not knocking any relationship. Let me say that. I'm not knocking that. But sometimes you may be attached to a partner that has absolutely no desire to travel. Okay, I love you, and I'll see you when I get back. I'll let you know when I get to the airport. I'll let you know when I make it to the other airport, check in. But at the same time, create balance and don't be so consumed with your significant others and even the friends you leave behind that you can't enjoy the trip that you paid for and that you've been waiting on. Please, 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 please don't do it. Okay. If you love me, you're not going to do it. Okay. So this is Travel Today. Tomorrow isn't promised. I thought about my stepdad. I love him. We call him Daddy Baby. And remember, I said he used to take us traveling every year. But when he developed MS, that traveling stopped. Of course, I was grown at that time, but y'all, I enjoyed so much going out of town and spending time with my parents and my siblings. And even my biological dad, he took us on trips. We would go to Florida. We've gone to Atlanta. Even though my sister lives in Atlanta, we would go there and see her. That was still leaving where we were in Arkansas and creating memories and moments and building bonds with family and having things that you can look back on and reflect. And even with my daughter, she's grown now. We still talk about trips we took when she was younger. I started taking her traveling when she was 6 months. And I started early because I wanted her to be used to going. I wanted her to be used to traveling. And I wanted to instill that desire and that passion for life and being able to discover and learn new things and to go different places in her early. And so she loves to do when her budget allows her to, she goes places. She goes places. So I hope something I said resonated with you. If you ever have any questions, if you ever have any comments, if you ever have any thoughts, don't hesitate to reach out to me and ask me, hey, Keisha, all right, we want to go here. What's your recommendation? What's your thoughts? What are some safe things to think about and to do? What are some things we need to take on the trip? Because that's important too, because you want to go and you want to go with confidence, but you also want to take things that you're going to need. And that's not going to take up room in your luggage. It's unnecessary weight. Because y'all know y'all going to go there and buy stuff and bring it back. So make sure you don't take anything unnecessary that's going to take up space for stuff you're going to bring back, souvenirs, alcohol, because some of us do it. So I'm just saying. So thank y'all so much for tuning back in with Talking with Claire. I am going to be back. I am going to do better. I promise you guys, I am going to do better. Once again, y'all, thank you so much and see you next time.